Hello, this is Richard Bruce, and this is yet another gang stalking report. And what is gang stalking, or targeting? I'd heard that term on the web before, and I didn't know what it was, didn't think much of it, until it happened to me. When I uploaded reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube, starting in February of 2013. So what happened was, I discovered this topic on YouTube, and at first I didn't think much of it. And then I kept seeing it and was wondering how they got these effects, because I'm seeing slit eyes and claws and fangs and stuff that really looked, at least somebody spent some time making it look like reptilians. So I checked it out for myself, and the more I looked, the videos that were on YouTube really looked bad, and I was not impressed. But then I found a channel called Frequency Fence. It's not up anymore, and the gentleman that created it made genius movies at first, but then he was hospitalized for 3.5 years. He was gone, and when he came back, apparently it had affected his reasoning, and he started making movies that were very unconvincing, and basically discredited him, at least to me and to a lot of people. And I think that they did something to his mind. I think they hospitalized him, they forced medication on him, and they wiped out his mind. But before then, he made the best movies that there were on this subject, and he only used text and arrows, but he did a good job, and the explanations were just really far out in some of the catches he made. I haven't even gotten something as wild, well, close to it with Keanu's claw, but he took apart this one video of actually a pornography video, and he actually showed the limbs growing and changing, and then a tongue flicking out in rapid session, like that. And he had to first they deleted the video, but then he blacked out the parts you're not supposed to show because it's pornography. And so it was really amazing stuff. But in any case, so when I found this, I didn't think much of it until I saw that channel, and then he did this report on the movie The Matrix with Keanu Reeves, and I was familiar with that movie, so I bought the Blu-ray and checked it out for myself. And sure enough, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, because I had watched this movie many times, and I didn't see anything of it. You know, it just wouldn't have even crossed my mind. It's until you slow it down real slow, almost frame by frame. And in fact, I finally learned that the best way and the most stuff that you see is when you actually do go through it frame by frame, and not using a video card to get the initial capture, but actually using a 60 frames per second video camera against your high-def television, and it actually captures more, believe it or not. So what happened was, I realized this was true. I made my first 40-minute report, uploaded it. It was called Reptilian Matrix Message, and within 15 minutes I had 7 or 8 helicopters hovering above my apartment in Woodland Hills. I thought it was a drug bust. I'm like looking around going, oh, somebody's, it's a police chase or something, but it's right here in my building. It was a large apartment building right across the street from the Topanga Plaza, which is a mall in a part of Los Angeles, a suburb called Woodland Hills, Canoga Park area. And so as the day wore on, I had more helicopters flying over my apartment. And I just didn't know what this was, and I was kind of freaking out. But I'm like, no, this can't be true. I'm just I'm just kind of imagining this, because it couldn't be. And then by the end of the day, when it kept happening, because it was like weird, it was the noise would start low, and you would hear it, and I became conscious of it. And louder, 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 louder. I'm like, what? And so anyway, I finally realized, oh my God, this is about me. And when I uploaded to YouTube, because this was highly weird paranormal stuff, I'm like, oh my God, I uploaded some stuff to YouTube and became a targeted individual. I mean, it is so wild that it took me months to even really just fully believe that this was going on. Because I also thought that they were going to kill me, because there was black SUVs and LAPD squad cars lighting up their sirens. They never pulled me over, but they would like zoom around me. It happened so much about a dash camera. And I made a movie called Your Taxes for My Reptilian LAPD Escort, and I proved that in a less than a 5-minute period I had LAPD zooming around me. One was a squad car, the other one was a motorcycle. And they pull in front of me, zoom around, and then pull off to the side, and then pull around, turn the other direction, and you can fully see it. And then I uploaded that with some of the reptilian shapeshifter footage that I got, and that form of harassment stopped. However, the air stalking, as I call it, using helicopters, and or, as I find out, it's so weird you can't believe it, holographic helicopters. Okay, and I know that sounds like, no, there's no way, you know, I can feel the vibration, blah, blah, blah. I listen to the John Lear videos. It turns out they have technology that is just and tools and techniques and things that are beyond our ability to even believe it, because we've been programmed against believing it. That's what I found out. Yes, I've been programmed, you've been programmed, everybody has. Listen to William Tompkins. He's got some of the best explanation for it. He was somebody who worked in the secret space program. Look up William Tompkins. He's got a book on Amazon called Selected by Extraterrestrials. Amazing man, amazing career. You can tell he's totally real, and I know he's for real because he worked at the same place my dad worked over here at Rocketdyne, which is like 2 minutes from where I'm right now filming, which is a former you know, they build rockets. It's now the company still exists. It's called Boeing now. In any case, so he knew that all this stuff was real, and stuff alien tech that they're using beyond our ability to even, you know, beyond the person that's not in the know's ability to fully believe that this could possibly be going on. What he says is that all of our education systems are actually designed to build up our belief systems, so that you will not be able to listen to anything anybody says about it. And I've encountered this firsthand. People hanging up the phone on me, people getting extremely angry about it when I show on my channel, and hate me so bad. You know, when I show people in my local neighborhood, because some people that I showed this to that I knew, and we see each other every day, from the time that they saw my channel, they just viscerally hated me. I mean, actually really hated me for nothing more than what was at my YouTube channel. And I know it's not them, it's demonic programming. And that's the other thing I found out about this. It is actually demonic. This whole thing is, we are fighting Satan and the demonic realm. It's an invisible subdimension. They can see us, we can't see them. But they are, it's the demons from the Bible. Yes, it is. Actually, the word is devils. Demons actually isn't in the Bible. It's an additional word that we made up, but it's the same thing. It's evil spirits, but these evil spirits are not just these nameless, formless, you know, kind of, you know, indescribable situation. No, these are a race. They use money, they use technology, they live, breathe, and eat. It's just a different way of living than we think. It's a whole different situation, and they exist in the physical. They can in some cases, and they do in some cases, come into the physical. Many of the people that you see walking around that you think are human beings are not. They are devils. Okay, that's what the Bible calls them, but there's all different races. There's insectoids, there's reptilians. They're all around us. This whole thing is a spiritual battle. We're in a fight for our lives against the dark kingdom, as it is called, or the demonic realm. And that's what all this is really about. When I exposed these creatures, because I found out how to see them via what I call now demonic distortion, they just went ape. And I mean, you can't believe it. So 5.5 years later now, it is just wild. You know, it's just, like I said, I couldn't even believe it. And if I was somebody first seeing somebody like me explain this, I would think that they had kind of lost their mind, because there's a lot of crazy people saying all kinds of crazy stuff. It's not true, and the majority of people saying stuff like this probably are just, you know, they just, maybe they're not even crazy. They just, you know, hey, how people just believe weird stuff and it's not true. Well, I can back up everything that I talk about with video, even though the air stalking is very hard, because a lot of people can just look at it and say, well, you're just pointing the camera up at any random aircraft that flies overhead, and then you're saying, oh, I'm being harassed by aircraft. Well, you know, I'm prepared for all that. I've been through all this for years, and try to explain for each video that I make, showing the evidence, the new evidence that I've gotten since the last gang stalking report that I've made. I try to explain it to people that haven't seen this before, and to show you know, show my face, take responsibility for what I'm saying, and so that you can see that I'm rational. My name's Richard Bruce. I have no criminal record. I have no insanity record. In fact, my mother was a doctor and psychiatrist, and she knew I was sane. My father was a rocket scientist. He worked, like I said, at Rocketdyne, and they know that I'm sane. So, but what happened was, what I found out is that they can see across time. By the way, time is nothing like what we think. Already the U.S. government has time travel. There's all kinds of witnesses to this. Check it out. It's a matter of breaking through your belief system. There's all kinds of stuff that they have kept from us that they are not, they don't tell us because they don't want us to find out the ultimate secret, which is that there are non-humans living among us. Those are the people who are truly in charge. They're beasts. Okay, it's what the Bible called beasts of the field. It shows up 29 times in the Old Testament. I found out firsthand it is real, and when I first started revealing these creatures using video, God put it into my mind that the actor Paul Walker and another one of his serpent friends, or maybe it was an insectoid or another wolf beast, whatever, got in their $500,000 Porsche and from Santa Clarita were on their way over here. They crashed into the only gas line in the area and burned up alive. That was Paul Walker and a friend of his. And it came into my mind, God put it into my mind that Psalm 27:2 was referring to that incident in particular. When my enemies and my foes came to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. The fell was the crashing into the only gas line in the area and burning up in that car alive. And that was the angel of the Lord protecting me because they were on their way to eat up my flesh. Think about it. Do humans come to eat up your flesh? Look it up. Psalm 27:2. When my enemies and my foes came to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. They were on their way over to have a little Richard Bruce snack. Yeah, to eat people. Okay. That's the real reason they don't want you to know about UFOs, because if humans in general start to believe in extraterrestrials and non-human intelligence in general, it will eventually lead to knowledge to them, which is why they keep it all secret. But that secrecy is eventually coming to an end. It may not be anytime right away soon, but it will come to an end with the kingdom of the Holy Spirit, as I've reported on at my channel. Pause in progress, pause in progress. Direct overhead, direct overhead, direct overhead. This is direct overhead. Direct overhead. 11 p.m. Direct overhead and fly and turning off. This is what's called security guard stalking. This is the Ralphs on Topanga and Ventura. Security tassels right in front as I'm exiting. Security tassels right in front as I'm exiting. LAPD coming hot. Black and white. Black and white coming again. Middle finger turns into a short stubby thing with a claw, and you'll see that in just a second. It's like it sticks out, but it's like this little tiny stubby thing. And then here in this next frame, the next frame coming up, you'll see a little nail will stick out. See? Look at that little nail sticking out of there. It's really weird. I mean, it wasn't there a few frames ago, and then all of a sudden it's sticking out, and that's probably the beginning of his real hand, or his reptilian form hand, you might say.
You're creature of the night, Michael. Just like out of a comic book.
Buzz in progress, buzz in progress. It's black and white LAPD buzzing around the area. As I sit down to eat, common tactic, they'll do a flyby or zoom by or fly nearby. But as I sit down to eat, did a, probably came from that direction. If it's not a hologram, it probably is, but it came like that, went like that, and then like that.
Getting another life reading, Captain. Survivors? Not survivors, not warm-blooded. Living creatures, but not human.
And I remember, I'll swear on a stack of Bibles, I remember a lizard man in that office. It was His Highness Draco something. I can't remember the other name. And he was about 6 foot, 7 foot tall, had sort of like scaly skin, humanoid. He walked erect like we do. He had 2 arms, 2 legs. He had a tail, but it really didn't show most of the time. He had somewhat of a humanoid face, strange eyes. Now,
how did that strike you?
I didn't
That would
have that
have to be a
much to do with
traumatic experience. No? Not to you?
I didn't have that much to do with it. I call it it. I'm not sure whether it was he or she. But I didn't have that much to do with it.
But you accepted his presence as something normal for...
What else do you do? You're working next to this thing.
True.
You know, it's, how are you? Hi, you know, that sort of
I
thing.
go out for coffee and donuts?
Yeah.
He spoke in a hissy voice, you know, hissed a lot. And sort of sounded like he was loud whispering most of the time.
Chopper directly overhead. Chopper directly overhead. Saw him coming at me. There he goes.
In 2001, after much negotiation, the Supreme Court justices ordered the current Congress to pass resolutions approving NESARA. This took place on September 9, 2001, 18 months after NESARA became law. On September 10, 2001, George Bush Sr. moved into the White House to steer his son on how to block the announcement. The next day, on September 11, 2001, at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Alan Greenspan was scheduled to announce the new U.S. Treasury bank system, debt forgiveness for all U.S. citizens, and abolishment of the IRS as the first part of the public announcements of NESARA. Just before the announcement at 9 a.m., Bush Sr. ordered the demolition of the World Trade Center to stop the international banking computers on floors 1 and 2 in the North Tower from initiating the new U.S. Treasury bank system. Explosives in the World Trade Center were planted by both CIA and Mossad operatives and detonated remotely in Building 7, which was demolished later that day in order to cover up their crime. Remote pilot technology was used in a flyover event to deliver a payload of explosives into the Pentagon at the exact location of the White Knights and their new Naval Command Center, who were coordinating activities supporting NESARA's implementation nationwide. With the announcement, NESARA stopped dead in its tracks. George Bush Sr. decapitated any hopes of returning the government back to the people. While CIA agent Osama bin Laden is made into the boogeyman, the country dashed off to fight a war on terror. The events of 9/11 eventually led way to the slaughter of the Iraqi people. To keep the public unaware of the carnage, the official death count of U.S. soldier and Iraqi civilians is purposely underreported. Deceased U.S. soldiers are either being dumped into the Persian Gulf or replaced with clones. As of 2009, the total death count of Iraqi civilians now surpasses a staggering 1.6 million people. The same Cook statistics apply to the death totals on the day of 9/11. According to the government, 2,752 people died that day, when in actuality, 30,700 people had died. No one questions the insanely small numbers given out by the government because New York City is a large place. People who have lost loved ones do not make contact with other survivors, so they have no way of knowing how many people have truly died.
Direct overhead as I cross the intersection. Direct overhead, psychological warfare, helicopter flying direct overhead for uploading reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube. We don't live in a free country, friends. That was a direct flyover. You could hear it coming. That is for uploading reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube because they own us, just like the movie They Live, except they didn't show reptiles in that movie. They showed some sort of weird green or blue and red kind of thing. But it's actually reptiles that rule and control us, friends. Humans, we've got to stand up. First of all, you got to figure it out that they control us, and then we got to get rid of them.
One last question in regard to this whole sort of scenario in, you know, Draco, reptilians, etc. Mark Richards talks about the raptors as being a group of reptilians that went off planet after the dinosaurs. You know, that when they said the dinosaurs went extinct, they didn't actually go extinct, but
Yeah.
there a certain group of them, from what I understand, went underground and stayed
Yes.
here, and then a certain group actually left the planet, and they're called the raptors. Have you ever heard about the raptors?
I've only heard what you've just said. Okay, but
And that they have aligned themselves now with our Navy and Air Force. They're closest to the Air Force, and that they're working with us because their queen was basically told, in essence, that their trajectory of their race would be more positive if they align themselves with humans in a positive way instead of continuing to eat us.
okay, I guess I don't know that. I'm not familiar
But you
enough
do
with
know that reptilians and Draco, you know, the blood sacrifices, the whole Luciferian thing, the kids being killed and eaten. I mean, that humans have been eaten and taken off planet, et cetera, and used for slaves in other colonies, etc.
I hate to say that, but that's far worse than what you've just said.
It's
Okay.
far worse.
Yes, far worse.
The United States has long been overrun. If you're not aware of this, you are clearly in a coma. If you're an American so-called red-blooded patriot, something the fuck is wrong with you. Your Constitution has been completely and totally defiled and destroyed. It literally is no more valuable than the toilet paper you're wiping your ass with when you go to take a shit. It is that bad. And guess what? Your country is totally run by Jewish supremacists, Talmudic, pedophile, satanic, bankster cultists. Literally. That is who owns your country.
Okay, buzz in progress. It's called an arrival home buzz. Here he comes. That's an arrival home buzz. That is an arrival home buzz. That is an arrival home buzz. Fly by as I come home.
Just wanted to point out here, notice that this is Galatians 4:13. You know how that through infirmity of the flesh I preached the gospel unto you at first, and my temptation, which was in my flesh, you despise not. So we can clearly see that temptation equals infirmity of the flesh.
Helicopter approaching the area. He's coming slow here. Been hearing the approach noise for a while. It's interesting, different helicopter. Let's see. He's flying directly overhead, July 24th at 7:40 p.m. Notice I only start filming when this guy stops and stands there staring at me. I don't whip out the cell phone camera just to film him randomly going by. If they do this on a regular basis, that's how I know about it. They are controlled or whatever they do, but they stand there and stare at me, especially if I go in the upper food court area. Okay, so notice that as I was sitting there in the central food court area waiting for my coffee, that security guard, kind of a heavy-set Latino gentleman with a mustache, takes a position standing there in the center there, and you'll notice as I pointed the camera phone at him that you could clearly see that he was standing there staring at me, and then he was continuing to look at me, even though all I had was a phone in my hand. So just keeping a note that is another instance of security guards standing there and staring at you, staring at me as I sit in the central food court area. Because apparently what I notice is that they don't like that. And so what I notice is that the demons will have that live in and control these security guards will have them come and take and stand there and stare at me. And as you can see, I'm not unusually dressed or unusual in appearance or doing anything, but so there's no cause that I'm giving for them to be doing that. But that is a record. It is July 26th at around 10:20 a.m. Okay, let me explain a little bit about the security guard stalking. So you notice that he was not staying there for too long, and the reason that he started to move away was because I put the camera on him, okay? And the reason I know about this, now first of all, he was already standing there starting to stare at me for a while by the time I got the camera on him, but you'll notice that he doesn't stand there for too long, then he kind of has a smile on his face as he's standing there, and then you see him start to walk away pretty soon after I've got him on camera, even though I have it on the edge, and you can see the phone's pointing away from him so as not to make it look like I'm pointing the camera at him. But what I want to make clear is that I have suffered from this security guard stalking where they stand there and stare at me. I have suffered from this for years, and I never, did anything about it. Never figured I could do anything about it, because if you complain or you say anything, you look like the guilty party, and because why would they be standing there staring at you? And then you sound like a crazy person. But I have suffered this for years and years. I found out it's the demonic realm. It's the demons working in him to target me, to make me feel uncomfortable. And you think, oh well, it's no big deal. You can just ignore it. Yeah, they don't do it because it doesn't work. Let's see you try that and not be bothered by it. Yeah, but when this happens, I knew about it, and that's why I started filming him. But see, if I hadn't been filming him, he would have stood there with a serious expression, not a smile. He would have stood there staring at me, and because I've experienced this before, and they do this just to get on your case, to bother you. And so, don't be fooled that, like you're looking at this, oh, well, he was just standing there for a few seconds and then he keeps walking. No, you can tell long enough that he was standing there staring at me, because I only caught it like right in the beginning when he's just standing there staring right at me, and then he starts to look away, like looking at some other people that were nearby. But this is evidence, this is proof, because when it happens enough, then you know. See, I just started now getting to be camera savvy, and I realized, I'm going to do everything I can to get this on video, because I'm going to sue these bastards. Because even though I know it's the demonic realm controlling them from within, they're still responsible for their behavior, and the company that hires them are still responsible for their behavior. Alright, so we got another break-in here. This poor guy has to come back to his car and find it all nice and broken into. Looks like they may have stolen his stuff. They just got me a little while ago. Curvature around for a direct overhead, direct overhead. Direct overhead, gang stalking helicopter. Circles around once it's passed overhead. See the curvature of the flight? Circling around. Direct overhead, direct overhead. Direct overhead. Buzz, buzz. Direct overhead.
Das war doch ein Kampf, besonders aber auch gegen das Volk, das in unserem Land schon fast allmächtig zu sein schien. Der Kampf gegen das Judentum. Eine satanische Macht, die von unserem ganzen Volk Besitz ergriffen hatte. Die alle Schlüsselstellungen des geistigen, intellektuellen Lebens, aber auch des politischen und des wirtschaftlichen in ihre Hand gebracht hatte. Und das von den Schlüsselstellungen aus die ganze Nation überwachte. Eine Macht, die zugleich auch Einfluss besaß, denjenigen, wenn notwendig sogar mit dem Gesetz zu verfolgen, der es unternahm, sich den Kampf gegen diese Macht anzuschließen und der bereit war, Widerstand dem Vordringen dieser Macht entgegenzusetzen. Das allmächtige Judentum uns damit den Krieg angesagt. Und wir haben gearbeitet. Was haben wir geschafft in den Jahren bis 1939? In eben dem Maß wuchs wieder der Neid der gleichen Männer, die damals bereits Deutschland den Krieg überzogen hatten. Die Herrn Churchill begannen sofort wieder zu hetzen. Die Mr. Eden und dann natürlich den Juden an der Spitze, ein Horbeleich und wie sie alle heißen. Sie begannen nun ihre Hetze, Jahr für Jahr.
Do you know who owns 96% of the entire media? The Jews. They own it all. ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox. Why do you think Fox is the Israel warmongering channel 24/7? Why do you think every single televangelist on TV says, bless Israel, give your money to Israel, Israel this, Israel that? Because it is owned by the media, which is controlled by the Jews. That's what Alex Jones isn't going to tell you. That's what 90% of all these so-called truth channels are not going to tell you.
Here it comes again, hovering directly overhead.
Tech companies are taking the lead in suppressing any voices that dissent against the left. In the past few days, Apple, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and other companies have all banned Alex Jones from using their platforms. Also, Twitter purged various libertarian accounts. Instagram temporarily banned Tommy Robinson. Facebook took down a GOP candidate's ads for allegedly being offensive. And Democratic Senator Chris Murphy says mass censorship is needed to ensure, quote, the survival of the democracy, end quote. I guess he doesn't realize the irony there.
You know, whatever you think of Alex Jones and InfoWars, and you know, you may say, hey, this guy's a bit out there. The point is, he's got a big following, he has an opinion, and if you believe in free speech, if you believe in your First Amendment rights, people should be allowed to do this. I would say that by banning Jones, by shadow banning many others, Facebook and others are now effectively becoming a publisher, and that means, because they're taking editorial decisions, they should be open to being sued as other media organizations are.
Now, I would argue, because, look, we're all looking at how to find some balance here, because we do clearly see it's unfair. We see ranging from congressmen being shadow banned to celebrities who
So, the reason you don't see these, they're flying all over us. There's hundreds of them. There's thousands of them every single day on your planet. They're dropping the gas. So your mind is being controlled, and you don't function normally, or how you should function. And so, again, we are being mind controlled. Not for the last couple of weeks, but for thousands of years. And that's back to the Romans again. Their minds were controlled. And it's hard for us to accept that somebody's controlled my mind. And particularly, now this is extremely important, particularly because the brilliant PhDs in all technical fields, these people are the most important for everything that we need in science. But their minds have been controlled. So they won't listen to what some of the rest of us are talking about, because they know everything, but what they've been taught in those books at the university is all lies. Every technical field, it's all lies, it's incorrect. And it's preventing people that put in the 8 years or whatever, knowing everything now, to accept this subject. That's the reason Congress didn't accept it. when the MUFON went back to Congress. The Democrats and the Republicans, neither one of them. Oh, their heads were all nodding up and down, yeah. 10 minutes later, it was removed because they were already programmed. Their minds were programmed not to accept that. I know this sounds insane, but this is fact. This is what it is.
People are physically missing from their normal environments when they are abducted. They are not mentally missing and other people see them in bed and all the rest of that stuff or whatever. That simply, I have never had that. That does not happen. Planetary acquisition through creation of human-like hybrids.
Okay, so as I'm returning to my vehicle, got a helicopter starting up, and it's going for it's what they call an arrival home buzz, and so as you see, I'm coming up to the door here, and I am a targeted individual for uploading reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube. You'll notice a direct overhead. Here is your direct overhead psychological warfare using aircraft, government-paid vehicles, believe it or not, to harass psychological warfare against people for uploading the truth to YouTube, which is that we are ruled and eaten and controlled by reptilians and other non-humans, otherwise known as beasts from the Bible.
It's closely attached to the major financial, commercial, industrial, educational institutions of our society. It's run by the same people who run those. It's frequented by the same people who occupy management positions in those. It's not the mafia. It's an adjunct of clean business. It's serving the most respectable people we have in our society, the people who are the elite. And I remember, I'll swear on a stack of Bibles, I remember a lizard man in that office.
In the police station, when he was being held down and the sergeant came over, he said the sergeant shapeshifted in front of him, turned into a reptile, and then came back to human, and then shapeshifted again and returned.
Out! Out! Right now, no rest for you. Go, demon. Go. Go. Go, 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 go. Out! Right now. 1,000 times hotter in Jesus' name. I'll wear you down. I will wear you down. Fire, fire, fire in Jesus' name. Fire in Jesus Christ's mighty name. Drink the blood, drink the blood, drink the blood. Drink the blood of the Lord right now in the spirit realm. I rip your fangs out, I skin you devils. I burn you serpents, I loose gnashing into your spirit bodies right now.